Great, thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you very much, just listening to the last two speakers. It's been really interesting to find out more about your projects and what you've been doing, and it's absolutely amazing. Really loving hearing about it. So I'm chair of Black to Nature, and just a little bit about why I'm here or why I've come to be here. So I've been interested in nature only since I met my husband, and I grew up going out into parks or green spaces on the edge of Bristol, where I grew up with my family, playing cricket and playing football, and just going to woods and just doing stuff, because there was 5 of us, and I think my parents needed to get us out of the house at times. But it wasn't until probably about 5 years ago that I realized that actually what we did growing up was engaging with nature, because I was so focused on how many white British people engage with nature, which is sort of going out into the countryside or to nature reserves, looking at wildlife, identifying it, making a note maybe. And so I think for me it was sort of really eye-opening to understand that actually you can enjoy nature in a different way. So Mya-Rose is now 18, and I'm sort of stepping in for her because she's pretty busy, but she set up Black to Nature, and I have gone from being a retired lawyer interested in going out and being in nature to someone combining the fight against racism, I suppose, with that pastime. And so if any of you have time, there's some links at the end, but it'd be great for you to look Mya up. She's doing a huge amount of work in this area. So my girls growing up in nature had lots of opportunities that other young people from minority ethnic backgrounds haven't had. And I think that when Mya-Rose got to about 12, 13, she wanted to share her love of nature with other people, with other young people. And it was really at that point where maybe if you go to the next slide, actually, that she realized that there was no one like her, really, no one who looked like her or her mum or sister out in nature. And not a few, only a few people, but literally no one. And, looking at websites for conservation organizations or magazines that come through the door, everyone in them was white British. And I think that there was a sort of disconnect between herself and her Bangladeshi family, where whilst they sort of respected what we did, her cousins would sort of take the mick, and it would be like, oh, why would you want to go and do that? That's boring. So it sort of, I suppose that she felt, and her sister felt, that going out into nature was something that our communities didn't want to do, weren't interested in, and that's why they went out in that space. And it was only really, at the next stage in her awakening, I suppose, that she realized that that's just not true at all. And the reason that we have so few of our young people, so few of our families going out into the countryside, is because they're not welcome, or they don't feel that it's somewhere for them. And it's because of exclusion, not because of a lack of desire. So if you go to the next slide. So this is just a group of students from UWE, but I think Mya will say that it's when she realised, seeing this post online from someone she knew, that people can connect with nature and the environment in different ways. It doesn't have to be, you know, in the way that Darwin and Wallace, you know, engaged with nature, which also included lots of shooting and hunting. So in 2015, if you can go into the next slide, please. What happened was Mya-Rose found out about camps in America, and I haven't got very long actually. I'm running over, but basically she set up a camp, and the only people that signed up were white British boys from rural backgrounds. So she did what she could to get people, young people, to come to her camp from inner cities. And what she found was, if you can go to the next slide, they needed to be inspired, but that they all engaged with nature in different ways, all of them. And she's now run 10, 11 camps, plus lots of day events. And she has had 100% success rate with engaging people with nature. Now, why is this important? Well, you know, if we go on to the next slide, I'll make these available, so I'm not going to talk about them all. But there are things like negative expectations of visiting somewhere that people feel isn't for them, being worried about it, being scared about it. So after her camps, she wrote to the 4 biggest NGOs. If you can just quickly go to the next slide. Yeah, with a very positive reaction, but, you know, years on, not much has changed. So if you, the next slide, there's just a few stats which came out in 2016, but what it showed was 74% of non-visible minority ethnic children were taken out into a natural space. 74% of them were taken out at least once a week. So when you look at lower socioeconomic groups, that goes down by 10%. But when you look at minority ethnic young people, children 16 or under, that's 56%, 20% less than for white British children. So, you know, the next step was to set up a conference, which, you know, looked at mental health as well. And so on the next slide, you'll see that Bill Oddie came and to support this issue. And it was the first step in bringing it to the mainstream. So there are lots of barriers that were identified because we had lots of people from different communities come to this conference, as well as conservation organisations. And so, you know, there were lots of issues that came up: poverty, lack of public transport, general society racism, fear of hate crime going into rural spaces, perception that the countryside is only for white elitist people. So if we can move on, the next slide, we're looking at sort of barriers again, and even just things like actually the next slide on from that, sorry, things like fear of outside influences, dislike of and fear of dogs, fear that your teenagers, if you let them go to the park alone, the police are going to identify them as trouble. You know, all of these kinds of things that white middle class parents don't have to think about. So we looked at some solutions. Mya-Rose came up with some very specific solutions, like using nature by stealth. So I'm going to quickly finish because I've got the slides that we can share. But really, what I will end with is, why is any of this important? And what we need to be thinking about is that you can't care about something you don't know. So if you don't know about the planet, if you don't know about the wonderful wildlife and habitats you know, around the globe, or even in places where your family came from ethnically, then why would you care about saving the planet? Why would that seem relevant to you? And so, you know, to make change, we've got to work from inside our communities. We need to make change, but we also need to challenge the environmental and conservation sector to change, to be inclusive, to be relevant to you know, our communities, and particularly our young people. So thank you very much. The last slide's got some contact details, but you know, I don't know if they can be shared, and so it's got a few links there. So sorry for overrunning.
No problem at all, Helena. That was an absolutely fascinating talk, and you've actually hit on some really crucial issues